I'm just seeing what happens. I'm paying attention to how the universe changes. I'm like a scientist sometimes. I am a scientist. And I'm a pro football player. I'm seeing what changes happen. I'm on YouTube videos that deal with the public, like Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens. And I'll let y'all know both sides are wrong. Both sides are wrong. Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, and the people that they argue with all day at hold up, I hit the wrong button. At all those colleges. Fuck, can I bring the chat back? I don't really want chat anyway. Let this chat be an example of how artificial intelligence will put these bots designed to be aggressive as an emotional siphoning in the Higgs field. Once I start to collect good energy, it won't be the same because we're not in Leo season. But in Leo season, if you went back through the lives in the future at some point, now that we understand that they're bot accounts designed to siphon positive energy by just attacking, they're bots that are programmed to hurt people's feelings. Isn't that crazy? A lot of the comments you'll see on any live stream, go look at their profile and you'll see that they're made fairly recently. Because it's a servers across the country. But the thing with Charlie Kirk, if I sat there at those protests where the delusional college kids that are still in middle school, in city towns and suburban towns, people very far into the matrix, and they go to these ASUs, they go to all these universities where they get hooked up to the battery. So the reason they're not able to come to real opinions and the way that they argue is messed up, and there's no real logical conclusion to anything on both sides. Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens, they're both just throwing shit that makes no sense to people that sit outside all day like this. For me, the way that I lived, sitting here to watch a Charlie Kirk video, they're both stupid. They're both dumb. They're both losers. And they're both engaging in the stuff that they say they're not doing. They're both like, I'm saints, I live in suffering. But they're both pretending. So I think that those situations aren't real, man. I really do. I like when I work at the Charlie Kirk videos. He's trying to talk about the truth, how I would do it. Let me reorient. When people hop in the chat, it's like I see their faces pop up in front of my face. That's what stuns me for a second. And it'll pick up again once I have a train of thought. It's like a dragon coming through to transmit information to people. But it's me. It's a higher self. I was saying, basically they have one guy sit at a bench, and there's a table in front of him, and he's got an awning above him and security guards, and then they bring in like 50 different people at a college, and they all surround the table arguing with him about abortion and race. And then Charlie's like, Kevin Cowell is here, KC. Now he's gone forever. I just have to get Wi-Fi. If I know to go for 10 minutes, I'll place you over here. I've got like 3 different. It's a barbarian king, it's an alien, and then it's my grandmother, I think. And then there's war chiefs and skeletons and tons of other things that pop into my back and stimulate and tell me things. And then I raise above, and then we have things like loud noises, crows, cops, creeps, and crackheads. Something just transmitted down from space and said constellations. They're saying to keep my ideas to myself because then it won't be as special and sacred. The stuff that I know that I think about all day. And I have the entire phone at my fingertips. So I'm able to see what the collective is doing. All these people are living their individual lives. Singular points. And I can see the whole, and I'm not constricted by time or responsibilities. So my truth is powerful and it's big. So I don't know how to share it. Because I'm understanding the same problems are still here. Even if I went and sat down with Charlie Kirk, as much as he claims to be religious, he's lost. He's a nitpicking, aggressive narcissist like all the people that we see on a daily basis. I could sit down with Charlie Kirk with a crown on and robes and black and gold armor, and I'm sitting there, and Charlie Kirk's like, this is a legitimate, valuable person to listen to. And I would sit there and be like, you all need to stop talking and listen, and you can't blow up. You can't explode in my... See, it's better if the people that have this anointed power of reality are separated, because when they commingle, they cancel each other out a little bit. There needs to be that diversity. Like, they want me on this mountain directly. The phone is coincidentally pointed directly at the mountain that I'm trying to go to next. I didn't plan that. That the mountain that the aliens are on is directly behind me, and I keep getting drawn to go that way. Something said before the world ends. All the ex-girlfriends I wanted to impress and then build a better relationship with, I now view as Truman Show handlers. I looked up the meaning of family, and the meaning of family means familiar enemies. Which is funny because they're the people that I've had my whole life has felt like there was some type of agenda against me that seemed so unnatural and weird to me. I didn't understand it. I'm like, how I could see through it. Everything that you guys think that you are, I could see I could see what's behind it. And I'm like putting kind of I'm stimulating, I'm saying things and doing things in a positive way to see the reactions of the people that should support. And it's like the thing behind them will jump out. And the more I'm able to have a boundary and a barrier to consistently work on my life positively, the more feral, aggressive, and horrible they get. Their whole life, it's like they break down. It's like their whole code disintegrates. When I recognize that they're farming my spiritual bandwidth, it's been dead quiet all day. And now look at all these low vibrational circling me. Yeah. The crows are getting more powerful, it seems. So the necessity for me to get a BB gun is of the utmost importance. Something said they're preparing for a biological attack, like COVID or monkeypox or mosquitoes that have a disease in them. There's an agenda to destroy. Yeah. So it's not me, it's something, it might be an extension of myself. I don't know what it is, but it's coming through me. It's a smaller person. Whatever that is, that person's like 2 feet tall. And it said we have enemies on all sides. And it showed me that we have AI, aliens with agendas to hybridize. If you guys look at the general consensus of the spirituality groups, which have millions, hundreds of millions of people, it's a religion. And that's spreading way faster than Christianity is right now. Because spirituality is just, you raise your vibration and you come back to who you really are. Christianity is like very strict guidelines. But these spirituality branches all tend to go towards that the higher dimensional beings are trying to prepare us to be a part of their family, hybridize us. We're going to be the 7th hybrid family, hybrid species in the family. The Asasani and the Greys and they all. The reason that the aliens are here to evolve humanity is to bring us to a higher vibrational state so that we are now a part of them. And I don't think it's a coincidence that when I was in the homeless shelter and I had to fight my way through the homeless shelter to get up to the apartment, so I had my own apartment above the homeless shelter when I was 17, and I was able to get out and have my own job and have my own girlfriends. I had tons of girlfriends in the ski town, so they'd come in for a week and they'd all go to Dunkin' Donuts to get their coffee. And then I'd walk them by so all the kids in the shelter could have hope that, like, look, Casey might be a little off, but look what he's doing. So then I come down every day and talk to these crying children that their parents gave up on them and the system is not their friend. And I fought my way up and out when I was 17, and every day my go-to game, I would get a couple of those Now and Plenty candies, and I'd sit there in the attic with the window that overlooks the town at the top, and I would play this game called XCOM. And XCOM is where you are a commander of an army of soldiers that you get to design their characters. So I would create all my friends and family and everyone downstairs, and I had this whole army of people. And I had to strategically get us through an apocalyptic scenario where aliens had taken over the government and that everyone else has been forced into hiding with guerrilla warfare. And all we have is like the amount of money that investors that are against that agenda are secretly funding us. So I had to take in the secret funds and build bases across the world and fight back against these alien species and these humans that were sympathizing with the aliens to get to a point where we could expose them for what they were doing and call out the people live. Show all the cloning facilities where they're taking human DNA and putting them in trains and then bringing them down to harvest the genetic material. And we had to bomb those things, and we had to get through and set up camps across the world before they could make a perfect human alien hybrid that was able to house the power that they have with the, I guess you'd call it the God's chosen people, like the reason that we're so powerful and good, whatever that we have that they want. And they were able to bring both of us together. And it's crazy that that was like 17, and now it's 8 years later almost, and the whole world is now on that type of time where there are tens of thousands of people getting together to talk about how the aliens are going to open up a vortex to bless them with high vibrational energy down in Sedona, Arizona. And they're just coming out. They're using human vessels that have given themselves away to be trained on how to open up their chakras to be operated by these extra dimensional beings to come through. And it talks to the people and explains to them like, my ship is here. You could go there. All you have to do is play this sound at this frequency, and if you get the ring back, that means we've found that you qualify, and will allow you to. What he said, us do a surprise for you. And he just went on and gave the location where their ship is. And I mean, I see UFOs every night. Every single night, I see UFOs. Every day, I'm seeing aliens. There's different types. There's obvious cat people. There are these like the things from Lilo and Stitch, where they have squid legs, a sort of human squid type face, and then they have the crystal skull, but it doesn't go back like that. It goes kind of diagonally and up like that. And when I talk about these random characters that feel like they're denser and they look alien and their skin is fucked up and weird and their eyes are dark, and I meet these random people, like if I get on a bus and then I feel their presence and they look kind of like me, and then they just cross a back alleyway and disappear, and I never see them again after they've destroyed, like, fucked up my whole spirit and my energy and my whole life. And it's like the perfect time. Then I'll get like a YouTube thing on my when I'm scrolling that will talk about how there are a specific race that looks like us that can take on different forms, that they single out the people in like this whole flock of people. They'll find the people that are isolated, that don't go to work, that don't have responsibilities, that are working towards something and using their mind with creative stuff, raising their vibration. It's so easy for most, like, just have there hasn't been any birds at all. It's been dead quiet the whole day. Super Bowl Sunday, nobody's been here. But now there's a bird that's circling me, chirping, setting up a territory, a boundary, going in circles, and I'm seeing lights around. Because imagine like if you can see energy, and I'm a 33 life path, when I can get to that point where I'm present and I start to create, I start to sing and put it out, it's like it's probably shooting a beam up to the sky. If this was a 3D space and there was something floating on the mountain over there, it'd be so easy to see this. I'm seeing it like lighting up the whole place in like pulses. Yep, so they sit on the mountain and they have hundreds of tethers, and the tethers come out because it's an AI that like a higher intelligent being would be like artificial intelligence that could be in all different places at once. I don't know if they're demons. I don't know, but I know that I just haven't found anything that is what I'm looking for when I think of a god. When I think of a god, I think of something that's seen all the suffering that I've been through and is so happy to just drive a Challenger right here, and then the guy gets out and throws me the keys and then leaves. What I'm getting is like so much suffering that I can't function, and then right when I start to learn how to do it and I start to enjoy life again, it's rape. And then I'm empty and hollow again. So the demiurge Yeldabaoth, this system in place to siphon spiritual consciousness and farm us, makes more sense to me right now. And at this point, I've seen too much to not believe it's my life. Like, my name's Casey Francis O'Brien, and I was kidnapped by a Frank and taken on top of a hill. And Brian means an exalted hill. And he took me to a top of a hill. And then he called two people named Brian, and they were already there. And that's everywhere I go. It's like I'm the alien, and everything else is like an AI, where all the people already know, and they're all in on it. Okay, so something's correcting me. It's saying that the people don't know, but the people don't know that their thoughts aren't their own, and that they've depressed themselves and signed their life away to an employer and given themselves away with birth certificates, and they're not technically a sovereign citizen. So they, without realizing it, they consented and agreed at birth to be able to have these things channel themselves through their own narrative and pilot them and puppet them. And that's why they're struggling. So that it's not that the people are all in on it, it's that the stuff that they're not able to see that I can see is in on it. And that thing is everywhere. So that thing is just taking over people and using them to fuck with me. And then whatever that was that corrected me said that they've done the first contact initiation 1,000 times now, where they bring the person up to me and they're trying to see if I can tell that they're not human. And I told you the other night I saw 15 UFOs in like a dance above my head. And then it was kind of like peeling back the curtain. It was kind of like converting the energy into something else. It was like a gentle paw swipe in the sky, like vroom, of the brightest light that I've ever seen. This bright, warm, comforting yellow light went vroom. And I remember that I've had hundreds of dreams about that same thing, except this was the first time I'd ever seen it in real life, other than this time 2 years ago on that mountain that I'm heading to next. And the only way to free the kids that are in college is to unenroll them from everything and then bring them to be sovereign citizens. That's the only way Charlie Kirk is going to get through to them. But for the rest of us, like if you can watch a Charlie Kirk video and see him talking to the people and recognize the undertones of the conversation, like what they're really talking about in the subcommunication. They're the only way the only way I've seen to save people is by either shutting everything down and then being fully transparent. I'm talking like the whole power goes out and then there's a spaceship with a giant projector screen that's just explaining everything over and over again until people understand. And then it's up to us to figure that out. But that seems like they're trying a more structured, in-depth approach where it's like personalized with an AI and we all have one. And all the stuff like Charlie Kirk videos are stimulating subconscious. because we're a collective consciousness. So we're all humanity is going somewhere. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I've had vivid lucid dreams where I have this story and they show me like a very simplified version of what I'm going through. Like I'm driving my car and then I crash my car over a bank and then I'm looking and even though it's the middle of the fall, in the winter time, my family members were fighting off a bear. And then I had to jump down and then wrestle with the bear and fight it off to save my family. And then everyone like I left them all behind. They just evaporated basically. Like they all shut down. They weren't real. And then I just floated up and then I kept floating and kept floating and kept floating and then I looked over and there were giant walls around what I thought was life. Like the world that I woke up into in that dream where I thought that I was awake. There were walls blocking it off. And then I mentioned Charlie Kirk a lot, so they're trying to bring him in. I don't like Charlie Kirk. I don't want to deal with him. He's offering me a job. Yeah, I floated up and then there was hundreds of different cases. They all had different walls and different things going on inside those walls. Tons of different stories that all at once we all floated up. And it just happened that this Casey was the one that was trying to stop a bear from killing his family after he crashed a car. And I crashed my car into a pole and then I became a bear man. And now my family's trying to hunt down and kill the identity that they're afraid of. And I'm still just standing here, but they're not able to recognize anything past the character because they're heartless and they're narcissistic. They don't know that they don't. In one story, I was meditating in the woods and I learned astral projection and I went through tons of different cases and I recruited them all and opened up a portal and I led an army of myself into this version of Casey's life last year. And we all handled my karma together and I was so humbled and ashamed that this version of Casey wasn't the legendary war king that built an army in the forest and he wasn't the CEO of some big company in New York, and he wasn't a porn star down in Miami. This version of Casey delved into the little bits and pieces of all those lives and then decided that he didn't like it. So he came back to go sit outside like this because he thought that this was the most perfect way to do it. But there were other versions of those Caseys that in this multiverse had the position to be able to do more because they had more money and more power and more relationships and more status. So one Casey went out in the woods, built an army of a bunch of his friends, and they built a compound and they all learned astral projection, and then he went and found the porn star and the king and the CEO and the guy in the executive office, Casey, the music manager, Casey, the guy on stage. The guy on stage seems like my life though. It didn't seem like there was no other Caseys on stage. That seemed like my future, honestly. And they just like they like rode like a cavalry through my life last year. And I got to see them and talk to them for a couple minutes as they went through and they saw the relationships I was ignoring, and they like shone a light on them and then fucked it all up in a good way. Like they handled all my karma for me. And then they rode off to more Caseys. So I felt ashamed because I can barely make it through. Like, it's hard for me to go down to the library. I'm sitting here converting tons and tons of energy that's keeping me trapped and stuck, and I'm solving tons of problems. Like, I'm seeing all these people in this town are like hitting me all the time, and I'm constantly being eaten alive and trying to fight to feel the vibes that like the emotions that I create. And I'm like healing the world by doing that. But it's just the people that it's going to don't understand what's happening, and then they just convert it. They jerk off, they shoot up heroin, they smoke cigarettes. They don't do anything. Like, I'm allowing them to feel good, but they don't. Most people are trained to take that good emotion and then ride the high when they convert it back and consume it. They don't know how to sit with it and let it grow with patience. Hive mind. So today, at least, every single day, it's like a very complex, synchronistic set of events that when I look back at it, it wakes me up back to the truth. Today's truth was I watched an hour and a half long video of an old content creator I used to like, whose initials are CK and I'm KC. And he was playing a game where he chose his character's name to be my father's name. And he played through this really cool game, and then halfway through it, it's revealed that the developer of the game that he was playing, the developer of the world that he was in, was named Casey. And Casey was this like up and coming creator that discovered some hidden secret about the government, and then to protect itself, Casey embedded itself in the game before they could kill it. And then they killed that Casey, but the consciousness was still living in the game, trying to fight its way back out. And then the guy got killed by the government before Casey could escape. And then the video ended. And then I'm just sitting here. And then we had a bunch of people stomp around, robots angry, but I'm not feeling any type of happiness or bliss or manifestation. I don't feel like I'm having any relationships that are coming my way. I don't have much hope anymore. So there's not many attacks. Today there was nothing going on. Not even birds. Like, you could say it was Super Bowl Sunday. Let's see if this is still going. Yeah. You could say it's Super Bowl Sunday and that there's nobody here, but you think the birds weren't even here until I started live streaming. And now, listen to the wind and how cold it is. Now there's a bird that's just circling me, chirping. I have an enemy that I don't want to fight that's been targeting me for years, obsessing about me, lying to people in the community, strategically building relationships with people that I love, and then perverting the image of myself and doing these long cons where he's turned pretty much everybody against me. And then I look at his Facebook and he's talking and acting like me. And I'm having dreams that he's like attacking me with a stick and trying to kill me. And I don't even know the guy. But I know that if I don't hold that focus and that boundary, I become him. And then it's shit like I'm walking down the street and his initials are right here. Or like I turn around and his initials are right over there, literally. I open my phone and they're talking about someone with his name. And I didn't sign up. I don't think I signed up for that. It was like every girl that I wanted to sleep with in high school, he was trying to sleep with, and they didn't like him and they liked me. So he would obsess about me, and he didn't do what I did when I didn't like how I was being treated, where I worked out, got a good job, learned social skills on the internet, fought to study and get more experience and more understanding of life so I could perform better and do more things. I had a growth mindset, he has a closed mindset. He just got more aggressive, and that turned into him like going really far out of his way with like an ego to scheme and try to get into my girlfriend's pants, and he like started out as the simp and the friend and like slowly wiggled his way in, and like he thinks he stole my girlfriend from me, but I left my girlfriend to go to Miami. I just left her. So then they got together and they have a kid, and she cheated on him with me a bunch of times. So that's like really set him off, and he's had this like obsessive thing where he's like the worst thing that I posted something. He's like 2 hours away. I posted something on Facebook where I was, and he rode his motorcycle all the way up just to circle me the other day, and then sped off. Which is why I think that it's just more evidence it's a simulation. But I'm like, why? It's like life is not letting me just sit here. It's like torturing me for sitting here. It wants me to get up and go do the most. And I just, as much as it's like I get, no matter how perfect I make the song, every time I see myself playing it, I don't like any of the people that would listen. Like, I don't create songs for other people because I don't like anyone else. I see UFOs all the time. The Crow. They are crashing my phone when I go live. Because I have a message. It was that as we evolve consciousness, actions will be different. So the stuff that's challenging now, there's glory in that. So to work hard for the things that you want and overcome, take risks, and enjoy the world as we have it now, because it will never be the same very soon. So if you made it this far, man, I love you guys. They keep taking my live down. They keep crashing my phone. My phone's charged, but something's crashing it. Just saying that the world is changing very rapidly, and that what we have now shouldn't be taken for granted, and you should go enjoy what the world has to offer right now before it gets so much different. It's going to get very different very quickly, I think. So go out and enjoy what we have of the world while it's like this. Take risks. Take the risk or lose the chance, right? Go do what you want to do. Go be yourself. How I fixed social anxiety was just going up. I went to Old Orchard Beach and I walked down Old Orchard Beach and I said whatever I want, whenever I wanted. And it cured me forever. It's just, life is momentum based. So it's just, you gotta go through that gauntlet to the fullest. And they keep crashing my live. I don't know how long I'll have. So I'm just reiterating for everybody. Before the world changes with AI and aliens or demons or whatever's going to happen in the future, Putin said that he's not able to... Putin said he has secrets that are universe breaking, but Putin will never say it until the people that are more powerful, like China and America, decide to say it. Because he doesn't want to risk more people's lives than he has to. He's just doing Ukraine to defend his people before he dies, to ensure that Russia is a sovereign nation. So before the world changes, right now we have, like, before they take humanity out, right now you go to the hospital and you do an iPad. The doctor doesn't come in to talk to you anymore. So before all that changes, go out and enjoy it. Tell your family you love them. Have some campfires before it gets too cold. Go have bonfires with your families. All social interaction is just people want to have fun. So if you're lonely, just become the outlet for fun. Have campfires. Go build a nice place out in the woods and invite some people over to hang out. Go to like a lake place. Hang out with like Renaissance fair shit. Go to events if you want to. I just don't, because there's something special about me. It's not really that special because it means that every day of my life sucks. So as special as it could be, it's like I can't go to a Ren fair. I can't go out to mass public places because they all turn on me the way they do Charlie Kirk. So I have to like put on my armor and I have to run through it to go do what I want to do. I have to run through it. Every day of my life is a gauntlet. So for most enjoy what you have while you have it. They could crash my phone at any minute. They crashed my phone twice. I've said it over and over again, man. I don't know if it's an alien or if it's a government, but since I started live streaming, I've had strangers approach me to confront me about the things I say on live streams. So I don't know who it is, but they crashed my live like 4 times. Just this live. So that's all I wanted to say. In terms of like building muscle, like with mental health, most of it is just daily habits. As soon as you change, and it's easier to change a habit than break one. So with mental health, all you have to do is change your daily habits towards positive growth by writing down a goal and then writing down simple steps it would take to get you towards that goal. And then with patience, make subtle changes. Like for me, it was 100 push-ups a day. And then slowly I learned over time how to enjoy less. Like I used to binge eat until I felt good. And now I'm learning how to feel good off just 2 Arizonas. You know, so that made me lose weight. And then I did push-ups consistently, and I got a bike instead of sleeping in the back of the car. Once I got the bike, I shed the weight off. I did so many push-ups, and now it's like my life is never sedentary. Even if I'm laying on the ground, I'm not laying on a bed letting go. So I'm on the ground so my muscles don't atrophy. Like all these bodybuilders. So like you have to work out every single day to maintain your muscle mass, and you have to eat this certain amount of calories. It's like, no, those bodybuilders live sedentary lives outside of the gym. Like they're sitting at a desk in an office space, or they're going home and sleeping in a bed or a couch. They're in their house comfortable and not fully aware of danger. So how I live, my muscles don't go away because I don't ever let go and let the muscles naturally atrophy. Dirty Den is back. Yeah, I'll say it. Nigga, 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 nigga. I have the N-word pass. I got it from a 40-year-old prostitute when I joined Vice Lords. I'm a gang member, guys, but I don't even know the phone numbers of the people that jumped me in. I did that on purpose. Like, I know if I wanted to find them, I'd know how to go find them, but I'm never going to until I'm rich. Yeah, they crashed my live a lot when I was going off about simulation breaking stuff. So they don't seem to crash it when I talk about how to solve mental health issues. So if you have mental health issues, if you're depressed, you just need deep rest. Maybe it's because your responsibilities and your priorities are in the wrong place. And when you start to shift your focus towards instead of what you can control, what you can create, and then you put what you're creating into stuff that excites you, and you go down that road, it's like you transcend through the multiverse to the world that's better for you. But there's a lot of challenges, but those challenges are there to help you. It's just there must be something I know, or I put myself here somehow. When I was 13, my friend Austin had this black lab. It was a girl black lab, and that dog used to come lay with me at night when I'd sleep over at his house. We'd play Black Ops, and his family was poor as hell. They had a house, but they didn't have heat. Like, they didn't heat the house, and they only had bread. So I'd wake up at night, eat some bread, and go to sleep cold, and the dog would come up and lay with me. And one night I had a wet dream, and I woke up and the dog was next to me, so I just dry humped the dog to completion, and then the dog got up, and the dog let it happen, and then the dog didn't give a fuck. It obviously knew what happened. It knew what happened. It never came back, but it also, like, it made the eye contact it made afterwards Every time I saw the dog, the way it looked at me was so much different than the way it looked at everybody else. Like I had an intimate relationship with this dog, and I was like 13, so I didn't know how to. I didn't feel comfortable with it. Now that I've slept with so many other bitches, I look back like that. I know how that dog is thinking, bro. I don't. I wouldn't fuck a dog. I wouldn't fuck another species, man. I barely like women. Coincidentally, man, I'm not schizophrenic at all. I think I'm an alien hybrid. Get those lights back on. Yeah, I don't think I'm schizophrenic. I think I'm an alien hybrid, man. I think that there's so much else going on in the foundational levels of reality that my genetics allow me to be attuned to. And I've also had several types of spiritual initiations that have woken me up to different codes about how to operate your body as an instrument to be able to use your consciousness to interact and enmesh with different realities. And then when that happens, now I get followed by crows and it's on live, and I get followed by people and that's on my YouTube channel, and simulation breaking stuff happens to me every single day, and a lot of it is something else wants me to say calculated, but what I mean is like orchestrated attack, not orchestrated attack. I mean it's documented. Like I have full live streams on my channel of me walking people through exactly what's happening, where I can predict what's going to happen based off of what other people would call like schizophrenic delusional thinking. But it's just I have an overactive mind that analyzes things, and I'm able to store that information and work with it later. So I just continuously have built up my experience from the past 24 years of thinking, like spending years just sitting in isolation thinking, like decades of my childhood just alone. And I had imaginary friends, and those imaginary friends were never imaginary friends. Like the one time I was like, I should have an imaginary friend, so I tried to make one, and then it was like this little bird beam of light particle jumped onto a tree in my mind, and then it was like I can transform to anything that you want. So I was like, can you be Wilt from Foster's Home from Imaginary Friends, the tall red basketball player? And he was like, I mean, would you rather I be Wilt, or would you rather I be myself? And I can just project, when I talk to you in the future, you'll see a little Wilt in front of your eyes, but you're always gonna know that I look like this. I'm a little spirit bird. And that was when I can remember that clear as day, when I was like 6, on my way down to the playground at Westgate, where I was like, I want an imaginary friend. What's the most famous Casey O'Brien quote? I don't know, man. It used to be make an impact. It used to be the meaning of life is to give life a meaning. It used to be growth over consistency. I used to make a bunch of jokes, make an impact. That was my old motto. Nobody. Let's see how my charge is. My phone has magically started working. For some reason, it was crashing and cutting out all the time. I don't know. Basically, I've lived a really unique and legendary life, and a big part of that is that I spent most of my life in complete isolation, in solitude, in between these like grand adventures. I've done a lot. Like I went from like a very far off the spectrum to like being one of the most popular kids in school and dating all the pretty girls. And I just decided, like my whole life, I just seemed to be focused on making the best impact on the world. in a positive direction. So I kind of took that and I brought in tons of kids that didn't have good families when I was younger, and we'd all get together. Like that started out as like we'd get together, and me and my friend Sam and Jack would want to get everybody out. Like we had tons of kids run away with us every day from school, and then I've slowly woken up to like all the different motifs and stuff that keep me authentic if I tend to falter. Like if I start to forget who I am, I know that I'm a 33 life path, born on the 11th, Sagittarius, Aquarius, Taurus, named the most powerful name in Freemasonry, the most powerful signs on the zodiac, the most powerful life path number in numerology. And then I can look back and see that every time I moved towns, my friends had the same exact names, and that my enemies had the same exact names. And I can just see these cycles and patterns of behavior of the people that have come into my life when I lived in solitude, and how they all seem to have an agenda towards keeping me in a state of inauthenticity, so I manifest the wrong timelines and stuff like that. So I would just shift my focus into making what I wanted and persevering, because I just love making art. So I would make art and songs, and I just persevere through taking in different stuff and putting it together to make my most perfect thing. And the closer I got to my most perfect thing, the more my family turned on me, the more that my friends betrayed me, the more that random strangers would be outside my apartment building drunk and thinking that they were like spiritually attacking me. And I'd have like strangers I'd never met that were obsessed with my image on Facebook, sitting outside my apartment drunk, staring at me, screaming at their girlfriend about how jealous they are of me, thinking that their girlfriend is trying to sleep with me. And then 6 months later, I slept with their girlfriend, so maybe they manifested that. And then I went across, just randomly, I'll be walking down the street, I'll meet a girl, I'll get her number, she takes me to a house party, there's like 6 of us, and then they're like one of the most famous people in New England shows up, and there's like 7 of us, and I'm just sitting down on the ground the way I sat down like this, the way I sit down building Legos, and just talking. And then those people go on to be famous, like really famous, like going on tour with NLE Choppa, like being in rooms with Lil Uzi Vert, like going to parties with MGK. Like I met MGK in a McDonald's. I talked to Mac Miller on the phone 2 days before he died when I worked at an industry school that gave us a bunch of LSD, and then everyone got hospitalized because they had this huge experience with aliens. Like I was driving 80 miles an hour down the highway, blasting my own music with a full car, and we were all having a good time. But my third eye was open, and the whole time I was driving around guiding people to fucking Moe's in Ohio, headed up to Columbus to go to a club. My mind is open, and there's a bunch of these higher dimensional beings explaining to me that all these kids that I see, all these suburban kids across the world that I'm not a part of, but I'm seeing them in these suburbs in California and shit, are going to start doing lean and doing laced weed, and that's going to blow up their minds, and they're going to be the new zombies, and it's going to be a zombie apocalypse. And I'm just driving I'm driving a bunch of girls and my friend, who's Elliot Holz's nephew. Elliot Holz's nephew was in the passenger seat, and I was driving with them to Columbus, and aliens are explaining to me about the zombie apocalypse with kids that are going to get hooked on lean and get feminized by Gaden Ross. And then then Aiden Ross pops off, and I can remember that moment, and then I open up his live stream, and his live stream crashes for the entire night. He had like a huge, I don't know, it was 2020, late 2020, probably October or September of 2020. You can look, and he tried to go live, and it wouldn't work one night, and that was the first time I decided to open Aiden Ross's live stream and try to. Back then I was really trying to empathize with people, and I was like trying to connect to them spiritually, to try to like understand what was going on, because I was trying to get to the bottom of this, like why everybody else what was really going on, because I was starting to incorporate more energies and open up my heart more to connection, because I lived my life in solitary. So I didn't. And then the only time I wasn't was when I was taken by the government after I had to kill my dad in self-defense. After I did acid with Cheap Trick, I went home, and my dad took the door off the hinges, and he came at me with a hammer. He grabbed me by the leg and tried to drag me out of the house. He tried to break my TV, and I had to pick this 280-pound giant Irishman. I had to pick him up and throw him on the ground, and I think I broke his hip. And then he had a heart attack, and I had to walk with no shoes, in just pajamas, in like negative 18 degrees. I had to walk like a mile and a half, and then my fingers were frozen in purple, and there was this guy with cancer that opened the door for me at the next farm down the road on top of this mountain, and I had to try to fix his phone with my fingers like not able to move so I could call the police. And then my dad came bursting in having a heart attack, and we had to drive him home. And then the next day I went into government custody, and then on acid I read the entire Game of Thrones series, and my favorite character was Brian Boru. Not Brian Boru, my favorite character was Robert Baratheon, and he's designed after Brian Boru, which is my ancestor. And then it's like my life is slowly unfurled into the revelation about like how my family on both sides has Rh negative blood, which is supposedly seeded by aliens, and they have this, that's like the Nephilim power. There's like a strand of people, like I just saw a beam of light come out from the trees and stimulate part of my eye, and then that went into my brain, and then it activated a little bit of my pineal gland, which I don't open because it's overwhelming and I don't have a safe place to go. But it opened it a little bit, and it said, don't go down that, don't talk about that stuff. But it's all over my channel. So I basically, this channel was like that scene in The Walking Dead. Yeah, Dr. Sabi was huge. Nipsey Hussle's big. Like, I have a lot of dreams about Nipsey Hussle. I have a lot of dreams where I'm like walking through the world as like a king, and I have tons of people at my sides, and then I have like advisors in my giant army that come out and advise me about certain things and kind of make sure that I'm in check, like my hand of the king. And Nipsey Hussle's one of those, like where I walk through a garden and then Nipsey Hussle's in the garden. After like I go through this intricate hedge maze, leaving my army to wait outside, and I walk through this intricate hedge maze, and then Nipsey Hussle's standing there, and then I keep going, and then there's an ancient Celtic god that gives me like more of myself, like an old piece of armor from a past life that I get to have now for the next battle. And then I go back in, and then I take all that stuff I'm learning about the universe from going through that level of reality, and I turn it into songs and art. And then the closer I get to making those songs and art, that's when police just show up and jump out of the car and throw me on the ground, pepper spray me, drag me on the concrete, pepper spray me again, sprain my finger, and then put me in jail and don't wash my eyes for days just to get let out with no charges. And then nothing ever happens with that. I'm just left more traumatized, violated, and molested. And then I have to just keep going. So I pick everything up again. I rebuild my Legos, and then I just keep going. But then it's like the same 15 to 20 sets of names are just these random characters that come through my life every day. So this was like Rick Grimes sitting on that field on the first episode of The Walking Dead, where he takes the walkie-talkie and he's like, if anybody's out there, I'm here. I'm on this mountain. So, and if you guys know Martin Cabello, I don't know what a cozy rev mirror is. I know that there's something with the mirror that you can set up mirrors in a certain way, and you have to have it a certain thing, and the candle has to be in a certain place, and you have to have your own spiritual stuff in your genetics to be able to control reality a certain way. And then you kind of channel your manifestation, your creative ability to co-create this experience, and you can lock yourself in your room and have this little bubble where you kind of grow out and control reality for a second, and then you incant these certain spells in front of the mirror, and then supposedly the spirits that are around you will be visible to you through the mirror. And I mean, everyone that, like, millionaires are talking about that. Millionaires are saying that's real. And those millionaires are also like pioneers of the self-help thing, where they started out as pickup artists and now they've gone through so much of life that they're only there because they're trying to wake humanity up to the Satanist agenda in Hollywood. Like, they started out as, I'm an autistic man, I'm going to go down the street and talk to 1,000 girls a day, see how close I can get to getting as many numbers as possible, and then I'm going to tell my group of friends on Reddit what works and what doesn't, so that we can finally start getting bitches and not have to suffer for the rest of our lives as an ugly social outcast. And then that became like throwing the biggest Beverly Hills parties where all the celebrities wanted to go to, because they turned it into a science about high status living and high status communication. And now they've like woken up to that level of reality where they're coming in and telling people like, this is real, this is real, this is real. You got to get a grip. You got to understand this right now before the world goes crazy. I'm going to look up Cozy Ramirez. No, it's a huge, there's tornadoes. Vermont's having tornadoes all the time. We're having floods and tornadoes. So this is just like these weird clouds Vermont's never seen before are over Vermont pretty much every day now. And we have UFO sightings all the time. Everyone has a UFO story here. Everyone has an alien story here. Where I'm headed next is where I'm headed towards the hippie communes. So I just went all around the hippie communes, and now I'm going in. But somebody posted a yacht for free, and then he won't hit me up because I have long hair. He's waiting for someone that fits his culture to take the boat. He's like, it's free for a week. And I'm like, look, I've been backpacking around Vermont for 6 months. I'm trying to get into a boat to work on content creation and be able to move that to a better place to enjoy more views. This could really help me. And the guy's flat out ignoring me. He's not saying, oh, somebody else is coming to take it. He's just ignoring me, man. But it is Super Bowl Sunday. So I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm just going to keep it positive and see what happens. So I might have a yacht soon. I might have a small yacht. And then I'm trying to get a guitar, a drone, a suit of armor, a 4K camera. And then I want to get buff and learn how to fight. Like actual, like Krav Maga, Muay Thai. And then I want a dog, a big dog that's trained well. And then some type of like, maybe in the future, either I go to a place where it's legal, I get a puppy, and I get a Black Panther baby somehow. I've decided that Andrew Tate sucks, and they all suck. Owen Cook sucks. Everyone that I talk to in life, there's just something faulty about them, and they go into the same attack mode that everybody else does. I haven't found anyone that I can sit with for a long period of time that they don't get possessed and start to attack me. It sucks. And it happened, like, it's like I'm talking to my childhood hero, man, and then the same demon that comes through my father to say things the exact same way comes through him. So I'm like, is it just that this thing is so powerful that they don't even realize, or is that the world is depressed, or what? But they all know who I am now. Justin Waller knows, Andrew Tate knows, Owen Cook knows, Elliot Hulse knows, MGK knows, North Ave Jax knows, Love Kelly knows, C.416 knows, Spizzy Spose knows, Macklemore and Ryan Lewis's ghostwriter knows, The RZA knows about me. Who else knows it? Martin Cabello and Courtney Hunt know about me. GG33 knows about me. John Zerka knows about me. Maybe Sneeko. I don't know if Sneeko knows about me. But I know that they do. Epic Mealtime. Matan Evan knows about me. I have a lot of dreams about Smosh. I have a lot of dreams about the Smosh cast. Like, Smosh actively invites me to join Smosh in my dreams. Like, I'll fall asleep, and then the warehouse is opening up, and they're inviting me inside to go be on camera. Like, look up the Smosh cast videos. I have dreams that they're inviting me to go be in that group of theater kids in a satanic coven. They do rituals. Look up the Damien Hawes is dead, or Amanda Canto is dead, or Anthony Padilla is dead. Those are old Freemasonic rituals. But I have dreams that they're inviting me to go do it. And I mean, I've had dreams for like 5 years now before that was even real. In 2018, I had tons of dreams. So I'm assuming it's destiny. And my mom brought me there. The whole dream is that I was sitting in a castle. It was my friend's house, but it was a castle on top of this big hill. And then we were in the small room in the bottom where we used to smoke and pass the blunt around. And they had a pet lizard, and I had a golden retriever, and my golden retriever puppy ate the lizard. And then they kicked me out because my dog ate their lizard. And then I went outside, and then there was this giant gray tentacle monster, but it didn't have a physical form. It was all energy, and it was angry at me, and it was coming to eat me so it could grow and then keep going. And then it was coming up from the left side up the hill. I went further right up the hill, not running from it, but just walking away from it. And then my mom brought me to this warehouse, and then I woke up I went into the warehouse and I woke up, and now I know that tentacle monster was me, how I am now. That's the spiritual version of myself, the 11 named Casey. It's the tree monster. Like the other Casey down in Randolph, everyone saw her as an octopus. Like the psychics that told me they see me as a tree monster with like roots growing out like this, that's red and gray, which were my album covers and my house colors. They saw this other Casey as an octopus, and she's a Cancer. So I'm a Sagittarius, the wild man, and she's a Cancer, the underwater whirlpool crab. So of course the psychic saw that Casey as an octopus, the water tree, and saw me as a wild tree. So I mean, if the dreams are real, and I mean, I think they reveal things to you, but they reveal it in a way that so you get exactly what happens, but it's not as you expect. So for people that are still here, this is exciting. This time last year, and you could probably find it on my YouTube, around this time last year, I had a dream in that parking lot down the road by the gym. I passed out, and I had a dream that I was walking up on to the top of this hill over here, and I taught myself how to fly. So I know how to fly. So I started flying, and I flew up, and I started flying through the mountains, and I looked down, and it was all in darkness, and there was this big Minecraft castle in the darkness that I was like, that's really cool. And then I flew over, and then I flew all the way to LA, and then flew into like behind the curtains of a big stage. And then the curtain opened up a little bit, and it was Gotham Chess sitting on a giant throne. And everybody was like applauding everybody on the stage at the award show. And then I got to be like the surprise guest, where if people knew where to look, they would find me on the stage with everybody else. And I just peered I stood kind of next to Gotham Chess. Gotham Chess looked at me and was like, wow, you made it. And then I just stood there, and everyone applauded everybody, and then I could see that there were like needles in the haystack that saw me and realized like, oh shit, he's in the big leagues. Holy shit. And I got to be like, hi everybody. But just standing off to the side next to Gotham Chess, which is like the nerdy streamer that has millions of subs. But I was up on stage with everybody else. I think Zerka accepted the award. I don't know if it was Zerka. At the time, he got an award. And he was the guy that I was watching at the time. I was watching his Jack Doherty kick streams. So he got an award for something. And at least I didn't get called up for an award in the dream. But I was up there with everybody. I made it. and that was a year ago. So we know since then, like, what was that Minecraft castle that I saw in the darkness? That was Vivek's cabin, where I got to play real life Minecraft and I got to build my own castle out in the woods. So I'm having dreams. I'm having dreams in real life now, where I'm like laying down and I pass out, and then a whole dream plays, an entire dream sequence. Like they put a projector screen up against the side of my consciousness, and I see the whole dream that I would have had if I fell asleep. There's this energy and peace and love and connection to higher dimensions that you get when you can focus and let go and focus and let go and learn how to be present. That when you do that, all the birds start to activate and they start to chirp and come at you. The crows will start screaming. Everyone around me seems to get hostile and angry and trying to take it from me and ruin it. So that would be really overwhelming for most people, but I've been doing this for 10 years. But it's whittled me down a lot. I've really been kind of, I'm still here. I could still make a song. I could still sit down, and I still have all these skills to be able to put myself back together. But it's degrading to be in isolation and also be in a hostile environment where your positive emotions trigger negative responses, and those responses can be so far as getting kidnapped and raped. And the warning shots that they do, like the crows, and then once the crows, they send the creeps and the crackheads, and when the creeps and the crackheads, then they send cops. And you can see that sequence over and over again on my channel. For most people, they just, like, it's a hard life. Like, I walk in public and the pretty girl looks at me and she expects it to be flirty and charismatic, and then she looks me in the eyes and she sees like 10 years of pain and trauma, and it's like I'm a wild animal, and it scares everybody. Like, even if I'm smiling, it's just I walk through a gas station or I walk through a dollar store, and it's like because I've been through so much more than everybody else, I have this vibe that changes everything. I power through and everybody starts twitching and scratching the back of their head, and they get mad that they got accidentally conquered, and then they start to stomp around me and slam things on the ground, and then I'm trying to come back to peace and be like, I'm sorry that's the case. It's just what I had to do to survive. I'm sorry that means that spiritually I'm pushing everything away. That's just that's what worked for me living out in the wild. That's how I got the crows to go away. That's how I got the bad spirits out there in the woods to stop. And then more powerful things showed up. I've seen tons of different alien species, and it's like the ones that look farther from human. It takes like 3 or 4 dreams of interactions where it's like the aliens that I'm used to, the beings that I'm used to, introduce this new thing to me, and the new thing is so far from humanoid that it has to be this like soft introduction. And then I think some of me thinks that me being in that place which I'm staring out this way, I haven't seen anything. I mean, I'm seeing shadows, and sometimes I see like light tentacles coming from the community. Sometimes I see like shooting stars, but they're like just above like maybe like 100 feet up, like really, 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 really fast drones going way faster than 200 miles per hour. It's like a blip, and they jump across. But I haven't seen, usually if there are people in the environment, it's because I'm coming from a more of a anything could happen type, and I have a lot of hope. When I have a lot of hope, they show up, and that's when they're walking with their head down, circling me to set the environment so that I can't use my 1,000-mile stare, because they've programmed my subconscious to put me in a box. So then I feel like I'm in this little aura bubble now, because I know that somebody had circled me like crows or strangers. And then the environment, because there's that bubble now, then they kind of impregnate with dense, heavy meth head stuff. I'm definitely feeling so like if it was something over there, there definitely is something over there that's hitting me in the side of the left side of my head, and it's kind of pushing my vibe up and raising my consciousness. So there is something over there that's trying to get me to raise my vibration, which probably will make this space a higher density so that I'm able to perceive that, or more things can happen with that, whatever it is. And I'm seeing it, it's like hiding by, so they don't, supposedly if they're, I'm seeing it, whatever it is, whether we called that thing to go over there and now it is over there, or one of you really clocked it before I did. Yeah, there's a bird now over there chirping, if you can hear it. The bird that I called out as being fake is now over in the same place. Now it flew over this way. Or there's two of them. So they're setting up a high frequency channel. They're basically like the structural engineers of this simulation. Like, even though they have a small... Look, have you ever taken like a microscope? Seen those videos of people taking a chip, like a computer chip under a microscope, and how far you can zoom into how intricately made it was? Look up computer chips under a microscope. So size is not relative to brain power. These mosquitoes, like as above, so below the golden spiral, these mosquitoes could be just as smart as us. Way more conscious than we give them credit for. Sometimes I think bugs are like cockroaches on the ground and stuff. They might be stupid, but it's only because they're just a more technological vessel for a literal hive mind. But yeah, if you look up, like halfway through that ayahuasca live stream, I walk people through a lot of different aliens that I saw. But I've seen a lot more than just those. Like the blue one, there's the blue ones that have 3 eyes, and they have tons of tiny little eyes in between those eyes, and they have little horns or crystals that are sticking out of their forehead. They're there. I don't know the names of them. I know there are cat people, like they're humanoids, but they have fur and they have more like feline features. Like the top of their heads are kind of wider. Like their eye area is like wider and more square, like a cat's, and they have fur, different types of fur. Did you guys see the light that just shone through the clouds? Like, this is a heavy cloud, so for there to be light beaming through the clouds right now at me, that just kind of fucked it just warped the whole environment. So usually stuff like this, I get really anxious and scared because I know that it's responding to my inner manifestations, but I don't have any. It's really like life has degraded me and harvested me and destroyed me, man. Like, it's a lot worse than people can comprehend, I think. But there are a couple subscribers that help me out financially. So that gives me stuff that helps the panic attacks. And now I have this nice backpack and this heavy sleeping bag and a charger for my phone. And I just got another phone. And I have a bike now. I have a tent. Back in the day, last year, they would give me money for McDonald's, and I would have the McDonald's from this place. The exact McDonald's that I'm at now, last year, in the winter. It's been 2 years. I came here 2 years ago for a coat, and then I came here again in the fall, and then again in the winter. This is like one of those places where I just end up when I drive for a long time. I'll drive around Vermont all the time, but I always wind up in the same towns, and those towns are like, supposedly, if I am technically an ascended master, like my life path suggests. What's my charge at? 28. I'll put you over here. I don't know, is that good? Because there's the light, man, so I don't want the light to be shining on you. can't see me. I can't see you either. But so if I take it, it's happened so many times that eventually I give in and I go down the rabbit hole to what they're talking about. And I let the universe kind of bring me to that conclusion. So if I am an ascended master, and my family is a whole bloodline of them, ancient souls, ancient genetics, impregnated by aliens at some point, for some reason. And that's why my mom's side is Rh negative blood, and my dad's side has golden irises around the, or golden rings that glow and grow out through the eye around the iris. And the circumstances of my birth were weird. That makes me a 33 life path, born on the 11th. And it's just the symbolism of our lives. And then the things that psychics tell me, and things that keep coming up from schizophrenics that they just blurt out, and they have no idea that how impactful that is to me. That it's a motif that supports a theme. And then I learned that like your pineal gland is meant to help you house the energies of your themes in life, so that your reality can be structured in a certain way for you to get the experience that you incarnated with. Being an ascended master means you go from the bottom to the top over and over and over again in front of the world. So the world sees you over and over and over again go from the bottom to the top to show off your mastery of ascension. Like my dad would ride the chairlift, and he'd tell jokes the whole time. I climb mountains and I drive hundreds of miles, and I lay on the ground, and then I get up and I fight someone to the death. Or I go from a fat, ugly, autistic loser to being popular. Or I go from having brain damage and wandering around in a daze to being on your Facebook page as a leader. Or even if it's just like, maybe you passed by me on the street and I was out of my mind, like rocking back and forth, having a panic attack. And then the next time you see me, I'm like on a bike and I ride past you, and then I smile at a pretty girl and she goes, "Hi!" And then you've never done anything like that in your life. So to see me when you used to shit on me and laugh at me and walk by, chuck your coffee at me, to like a year later now, I've got better muscles, my hair's looking cooler, I've got that headdress hair in the wind. Like my dad would ski down the slopes and he had long hair, so we had the eagle wings when he skied down the mountain. Now I ride past people on my bike or with my window down in my car. Stuff like that, so you just go from the bottom to the top all the time. That's all an ascended master does, really. But the 33 life path part of it means that something about my life impacts the humanity as a whole, like XXXTentacion did, or all the Rockefellers, or the guy that's making numerology mainstream right now, or the guy that trained Andrew, the guy that raised Andrew and Tristan Tate. That I have dreams of him. I have dreams about him all the time. I have dreams that I train content creators in some type of spiritual dream realm, where I'm in a castle. Usually I'm going into their world, and they think that they're the king, and then I sit down, and then within like seconds, they realize their whole life was a lie, everything was meaningless, and that they were stuck in a pretend world based off their ego. And I just sit there. Something I embody when I walk into their dream wakes them up to so much, and then the next, I'll wake up, and then I'll wait the whole day, and then I'll see what that content creator has posted, and that content creator is like not doing well. He's not adjusting well to the revelation he had in his dream. And then it turns out that those content creators all have the same themes and motifs. Like Andrew Tate is King Cobra, KC. Charlie Kirk is CK. Carson King is CK. Kai Cenat, KC, Kendrick Curry, KC, Casey Rocket, Casey. And then Casey Rocket went with William Montgomery, and then they met Adam Ray at Kill Tony. And Casey O'Brien met Tony Williams, and then made music with Ray Kimura. And then when Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate popped off, Cancer, Sagittarius, I had a Cancer friend and I was a Sagittarius, and his brother's name was Ray, so we hung out. And then when Andrew Tate and Aiden Ross got together, Aiden's a Libra, Andrew's a Sagittarius. I had a girlfriend that was a Libra, and her best friend had a boyfriend whose name was Ray. So we all hung out all the time. And then I made a video about that, talking about that, and then the next day a dog wakes me up in the middle of the woods, and the owner is like staring at me like angry, and the dog's staring at me with angry eyes, and they're both twitching and walking around me, and I feel them trying to steal my peace of mind, literally rip out my connection to the higher dimension. And then when they did, she said, "Come on, Ray." And then Ray looked at me again and then left. What else with Ray's, Casey's? Oh, when I was 13, I had an alt account called Hugh Janus. Back before Hugh Janus had taken off, I thought that I was the first one that invented Hugh Janus. Because I was alone in the woods, in the birthplace of Mormonism. I lived in Brigham Young's old birthplace. Like the hill where the aliens came in, or the angels, and told Brigham Young, go up to the top of this hill, dig this up, and find this breastplate and this plaque from ancient times. And it's going to wake you up to the truth about reality. We used to just get high and sit there when I was 13. We used to sit right above where he would dig that, and we had no idea. And it was me and an Irish family of 11, and they had one of every, or 12, and they had one of every zodiac. And the one that was a Sagittarius was a 12-11, like I'm 12-11. And then just like my first friends were Sam, Jack, and Sean, now I have a different set of Sam, Jack, and Sean. And then I went to a different place and I had a different set of Sam, Jack, and Sean. And then over all the time, like I dated a girl named Garrett Shanks. And then my dad's name is Gary. I'm helping my friend John Michael get over his addiction to crack. And there's a guy named Gary Gay that's like stalking me and trying to get at me very angrily. And then 2 years later, I'm on Discord helping John Zerka with his crack addiction. And then I'm having dreams that GG33 is trying to fuck me up in my dreams, trying to stop. There's a mouse right next to the phone. It's trying to stop me from healing John Zerka so that Gigi can keep farming him. Okay, the wind's picking up, so I'm gonna make sure the live is still going. Yeah, so one time I had a dream. No, I didn't have a dream. Hold up. This is real life. When I made the video somewhere in September, post-simulation, pre-heaven for the day ones, right where I was standing, a couple weeks before that, or maybe a couple days after that, there was a Mexican guy, short, huge, but also fat, full of tattoos, gang member tattoos, face tats with the teardrops, and he had two big pit bulls, and he was sitting there panhandling. So I was like, fuck, seeing how they treat me for just being homeless, I don't want to know what they're going to do to that guy. So one night, he was sitting there on his phone, taking the Wi-Fi like I am, and sitting exactly how I'm sitting right now, rolling tobacco exactly how I'm rolling tobacco, stuffing it like this. And I walked up and just passed by him once to see if there was an energy thing. He was like tweaking, he was like trying to get a feel for it. I was like, can he understand that I'm a powerful soul? And I could see he could kind of feel it. Just getting a measure of where he was at. And then I went in and talked to some girls in the store, came out, and said, what's up, man? My name's Casey. And then he went wide-eyed Because right when I said, what's up, I'm Casey, it was the scene in the Ninja Turtles where Casey Jones introduces himself. So at the exact moment, we both said, hi, I'm Casey. The next day, somebody cocked a gun in his face, said, if you don't leave, we're going to shoot you tonight. We're going to come here and beat the fuck out of you and kill your dogs and torture you. So he comes to my car, he smells like shit, he's drunk. I take him down to Brattleboro to see my family and just bring him to a safer spot. His pancreas fails. He has to go to the hospital. They refuse treatment in my hometown. They refuse him treatment because of his tattoos. They wave us both down for guns, and they refuse treatment to somebody whose organs are failing. So I had to drive him. He wanted to die, man. So I brought him to the top of Hogback, and we sat there so we could see the view. You know, he's dying, shitting in my fucking car, blood everywhere, and he doesn't want to go. So I'm like, they won't give you treatment. There's nothing I can do, bro. I'm gonna drive you regardless to Burlington. But I took him a half an hour away and let him sit there in the car, looking at the view, in case he died. And then he passed out. I went and got his dogs. Didn't tell anybody because I look at what they've done to me. They'd probably accuse me of murder. Then I brought him up to Burlington. He woke up halfway through, and then he pulled through and he made it. So after that, I took him and his dogs and brought him to my other spot across the lake in New York, and I dropped him off there. But the whole thing is like he has all these Spanish conquistadors that are dead on his thing after his ancestry. And I was talking about how I'm Irish and he's Mexican, so we have the same enslavers. We're the same, like, whatever. And I'm talking about my spiritual stuff, and he's like, this is stuff my grandmother told me to never say to anybody else. How do you know about this stuff? And I'm like, it just comes to me, like I spend all day thinking about it. So I think about stuff all the time, and I just kind of put it together. And then he told me, he said that he was last of the Mohicans, which I was like, he's not last of the Mohicans, he's Mexican. For some reason, I'm like, no, he's probably closer to Mayans than Mexicans. But I was like, why is Last of the Mohicans playing over and over again? Before I drop him off in New York, we're sitting, after he heals, we're sitting outside Burlington, outside the Shaws that I used to sit at when people would throw coffees at my head. Last winter. I'm sitting with him in the fall, 2 years ago maybe. And he's teaching me how to panhandle. He's teaching me how to like submit like a dog in the right way so that people, the white people that are fake and evil, it'll be like a fun, amusing experience for them to give this guy what they can. And they usually like, they'll give me like $2, but they'll give him like $300 and a coat and like a pair of boots and feed the dogs. And then they just spit it. And I'm like, he's better off than I am. So for whatever reason, they do that. Then a girl that looks just like my ex-girlfriend, Garrett, but she's definitely not Garrett, but the skin tone's the same. They look the same. This girl is obviously much taller than Garrett, and she's bigger, physically, like bigger muscles. She kind of looks like if Garrett and this guy had mixed together, so more beefy Mexican, I guess. And she shows up, but she looks like Garrett, and she feels like Garrett to me. So I'm like, oh my God, maybe it was her. I hope it's not, and that she saw me and decided to give money to this other homeless guy and not me. As like a fuck you, Casey. You took my virginity and then you cheated on me, and then now look at you. But for whatever reason, it kind of looked like her and it kind of didn't. Like, I don't remember Garrett being that tall. She was taller than me. But they looked really similar, and it felt like her to me. But now now I know about simulated realities and alien shapeshifters and all this stuff, and who knows what really happened. But she gave him a bunch of stuff, and somebody came back and gave him this big, nice Carhartt jacket with a turtle shell design on the back to get him through the winter. And then he was saying his name's Intelekeha and he's Navajo Nation, indigenous, East LA gangbanger. Look up his name. His name is Harvey Tuttle. Harvey Tuttle means a warrior for a Scandinavian god turtle. And I met him when he was watching the Ninja Turtles. Right when Casey Jones introduced himself to the Ninja Turtles. And he got a turtle coat for a Scandinavian Norse god. And his name means a warrior for a Scandinavian god turtle. And then I left him in Plattsburgh. I gave him the names of the people that he should go look for, and then I set him off on his way back towards LA. And then I came back. But I remember it was really cool that he's killed people and he's fought for his life and he's like this badass guy. But he was terrified to get out of the car when we were on that ferry ride across Lake Champlain at night. He couldn't do it. He was freaking out. His dogs were freaking out. So I got out of the car and I sat on the hood of the car when he got out and was like looking around. He's like, I can't do it. And he sat down. And then I went and climbed up to the top so he could see me in the light at the top on the balcony, overlooking everything around all the terrible people that we both hate. We call them robots. They're the robots. And then he gave me his email, and I haven't been able to find it. I forgot his email. I remember the first half, but it could be anything. So I don't know how to get a hold of him anymore. I'm just waiting until he finally makes a Facebook. And then like in the year of the cat, I'm fighting a Leo named Cat, and he lives in the center of this town. And he's like running at me, roaring like a lion on all fours on mushrooms and pouncing on me, choking me out, and he almost pushes me off a cliff. And then he did a tarot reading for me, and the stuff in the tarot reading has impacted me for a year now. The stuff that happened in that tarot reading has like really stuck with me, because it was one of it's called a spiritual initiation, where it breaks your ability to, it breaks you out of the mold, and now all of a sudden you're in a much more infinite, immense level of reality, because you get this type of initiation to something. And I've had tons of those. But it doesn't, there's so much rape involved. Like people say life is about sex and sex is about power. There's so much rape involved with spirituality, where I like spend so long taking in the energies of people and building relationships. And I've gotten scooped like Five Nights at Freddy's, where they bring in like an empty vessel and they just rip me out. And then the person says, I'm Casey now. And then I never see him again. And then I'm just left to start over. That's the curse of being a 33 life path born in the 11th. Is that we have super egos, and those are very appetizing to lower people. So it's like everyone I'll ever, a lot of like this, one of the consistent things people tell me over and over again, like I'll meet a kid and then the kid has problems and then he does drugs and then something speaks through him, or I meet a psychic, or somebody passes by me on the street and says it. Is that you'll never have friends, you'll have fans. And I've grown up in isolation, in solitary, my whole life. I'll never be able to have a friend. Not really, because there's so much more going on. I have a mission here. And I'm kind of being abstinent about it. This is like my opposition, sitting here, waiting for the right moment to lunge out and run. And then I get the moment, and then it's like hard to hold on to it, and I'm having trouble. holding on to it and fighting through the gauntlet like I used to, so I'm just trying to keep it going, at least make some type of progress. Like I get missions that are so complex and difficult, but the way is open and I can see exactly how it needs to happen. And then I go as far as I can until I break down. And so if I do have schizophrenia, my life is only going to get worse. If I really have schizophrenia, my mind's just going to disintegrate over and over again. But that's life, right? The leaves grow and then they fall down at the end, and then they grow again and then they fall down. So maybe schizophrenics are just more in tune with that. But that's the Big Bang, right? The Big Bang, this perfect, complex, beautiful, and then it just slowly entropies out and fizzles away. So maybe schizophrenics are just doing that process over and over again like an ascended master. But if you could, this is people that have projected themselves onto me and built a relationship based off control that's now inhibited my ability to create freely. So it tends to, when it bounces off what would be bouncing off to stars, bounces off to this person, and then I start talking and acting like them. Kind of like a roadblock that I'm having trouble fighting back, or I'm fighting back against and trying to let go of and come back without losing my power to them. But the information is still there, but the way that I say it comes off wrong sometimes. And I look at the camera and I'm like, wow, why the fuck was I talking like that? Because I can't focus. Other people like this include FusiTube and like a lot of people that are high level creators, like people that are the most famous people in the world. See life the same way that I do. And they say that Adderall, when they take Adderall, it feels like they should have felt their entire life. Like and that's the case for me, but then it fizzles out. Like with Adderall, I'm like the most perfect version of myself for 2 hours. Sometimes even just like 10 minutes. And then I have to keep going and fight. So then I'll stay up because I don't want it to go away. So I'll take an Adderall and I'll stay up for 2 days researching and fighting and fighting and fighting until it breaks down, and then I have to start over. And then I don't take it again because I don't want to build up a tolerance to it. But I definitely need Adderall. And I think that that's important because when there are things I know will be perfect, when I talk about perfect, I mean that the coalescence of everything that I've experienced and thought about, all my philosophy and everything I've understood about the universe, when I put it together to make the most perfect choice in the moment, taking in everything and piecing it together, the entire universe, to make what I feel is the most perfect thing. When I get close to that perfect thing, everything is violent. Everything is like crackheads with hatchets running at me. Police jumping out of the car to attack me. My friends and family have now just disintegrated and now they're just angry beasts. Suddenly rumors in my hometown are spreading and I'm getting death threats for no reason. Because somebody got triggered by something. And now it's like this obsession about some stranger on the internet. So Adderall's a piece of that puzzle, but I think the whole thing was they were trying to waste my time. I think this whole thing was distracting me and running me in circles so that I lost my legacy. Where I could have been way better than Aiden Ross at 20 years old. I could have been way better than David Dobrik at 17. I could have been way better than Ray William Johnson at 11. Ray William Johnson knows who I am too. I walked down Venice Beach. Some homeless guy offered me acid. I turned around and Ray William Johnson was standing right there. Just next to me, just standing there. Not saying a word. And then he just walked away. Because I didn't say anything to him. So I'm sure he felt something from me. Because he's probably in a satanic coven. But that's just that's the hillbilly vibe. So I just try to, like, I play my songs over and over and over again every day, adding little stuff to them, in the hopes that eventually somehow everything I need will come to me. And I mean, there's a nice computer somebody's offering me for free, but I don't. It's a desktop. It's a PC tower, so I can't lug that around unless I got a waterproof case for it and kept it in this big bag. But when I look back through my life, the universe puts people in my life that are kind of archetypes for the life that I was planning on going down, so I can see that that's not the way to do it. Like lessons. So I know that that's not the person that walks around with the computer that gets fucked up. I know not to do that. It's like giving me wisdom. So I don't know. I don't know. It seems that the relationships that I have are keeping me in a cage. And what they did to me was very wrong, but I don't know how to kill them. I don't know if I want to kill them spiritually. So I'm trying to learn to let go, or like work it back. It just seems like it's a system that's really trying to keep me in a cage, enslaved. And the evidence is that when I have a breakthrough against that person, they find their way back as like a calculated attack. Kind of like when you take the face hugger off in Alien, and all of a sudden you have tons of people running around holding a face hugger, trying to get it back on you. That's how it feels sometimes. But the face hugger is a relationship that's not healthy, and it's very controlling, and it sticks to me. And there's just there's so much symbolism that I could unravel about my life that would be very obvious to see that it's orchestrated. Which makes anything I do not fun anymore. Now that I know that it's like an AI or a god or something that's just like a Truman Show. That makes sex not fun anymore, unless you're like the guy in the Matrix that chooses to eat the steak and go back in. Like it just makes everything sick. Perverted. With the truth, the knowledge when you bite the apple. The forbidden fruit. But for the average Joe, for just like the regular stuff, for anyone to just have a better life, I just talk about having a foundational practice that will keep the boat in the right direction. Which is like making sure you have like little changes to your life, like keeping a clean space somewhere. Even if your house is a mess, devote like one part of that messy house to be this perfect place that you can sit in when I was stuck and depressed, stuck in that public housing, and I didn't leave, and I was so like laying there depressed, and all the people around me were drug addicts and pedophiles and horrible people in the apartment building, and I was in the ghetto. I was in a horrible spot full of horrible people, and it was so like taxing on me and horrible that sometimes I couldn't even move. I'd have like sleep paralysis where I'd be cold and shaking, and my girlfriend was like trying to get me to wake up, and like she's crying and doesn't know what to do, and I'm just shaking there, and she can feel like my temperature is so cold to the touch, and I can't move, and she has to go to work, So I just like force myself to give her a hug, and I'm like, just have a good day at work. And then I sit there fighting for sometimes 16 hours at a time, fighting through that. And I learned that as long as I could get up and I could walk to the next room and I could clean a foot of space, that made it easier the next time to do it again. It made it easier the next time to ride that momentum. And then that eventually I would jump further and I'd jump further and I'd jump further. And then eventually it just took like that let me persevere to go outside. And then I would go outside and I'd spend the whole day outside getting sunlight and taking multivitamins and kind of like enjoying all the things that I built up to get. And 2020 was amazing, man. It was horrible, but it was nice. Everything is different all the time. So this is just as beautiful as that was, but the themes are different. The energy's different. There's so much more that makes this beautiful that I didn't have then, but there's so much more about that makes this beautiful that I don't have now. Like innocence in relationships. And I'm really proud of how far I've come. But for the average Joe, I'd say like just doing those little things. Having certainty in the change of your life. Making those certain changes can help you will your way through and order the chaos. And once you start to order the chaos, then you can start to build from that and let that grow into something with patience and consistency, growth over consistency, and an open mind. And then it's just over time it gets better. You're able to perceive more and be more present to the moment because of those little changes that you made consistently. And then what helped me was writing down my goals constantly so I could keep having it in my head where I was headed or where I wanted to go. So I would align my actions towards that. And then that's when I was able to recognize how the things I was looking for were coming to me. How I was getting interactions and stuff. Because eventually it's like just the more and more and more and more you build up of knowledge, you just get to this level of presence to the moment where it's scary. It's terrifying, and there's a lot of shit that comes with that. I'm focusing more on form. Retracting the scapular and putting all the focus on the shoulders. Because that's how you start to do handstand push-ups. I'm focusing more on activating the muscles when I do it. Making it slower so I can feel all the tears as it happens. But once I understood everything as energy, then I really saw the value in taking omega-3s and multivitamins and protein. And then an ashwagandha root. Ashwagandha root made it a lot worse because ashwagandha root, it cuts you off of the overwhelming feeling of the emotion so that you can process the energy better and use your mind better. But then I had like all this leveled up skill tree stuff in one area that when I got off ashwagandha and the emotions came back, it was way more overwhelming than I realized. And then I guess over time social conditioning wore that down, and then I grew in a different way. Social conditioning sucks. Social conditioning is as bad as heroin. Because at least with heroin, most people that do heroin are already so far out of society, and it shuts your brain off. But you get that same shut your brain off and falling into like the primal instincts, out of touch with reality, just by living, like having a job that deals out in public, like a security guard. I see no difference between heroin addicts and white Americans that have full-time jobs. They respond just as aggressively. They have no sense of common sense. They're hateful, spiteful, angry, and they have this drive towards some type of primal need to feel something that they'll kill. They might go as far as to kill others to feel. White people just get that feeling by emotionally abusing people and using their relationships like police to bully people and that's how they take it from them and overstep them and stunt on them. The crackheads will just maul you like an animal. They're both guided towards that same process. They're in the same system. I think that the entire world would wake up if they could just sit alone by themselves for a long enough period of time. The cure for everything is to literally just sit like I'm sitting right now. That's the answer. If you just sit like this long enough, all your problems fix itself. And the ones that don't fix themselves, they're highlighted in a way that you're able to easily identify and start to take actions towards. Everything else is literally just products of a failing system. Like I rode my bike to McDonald's yesterday in the storm to get some food. And on the way, we had cars go out of their way to swerve at me. I passed a car, and then the kids rolled down the window and went, "Ah!" Like a high-pitched scream to try to take the power and try to scare me, to literally spiritually siphon me. And I have shit like that all the time, people stomping around. And then, I mean, lately it just seems like everybody else is checked out now and it's an AI. It just seems like it's an AI. It's the tone of the people's voice, it's their choice of vocabulary, it's the cadence and the rhythm of the whole sequence of events, and how they respond to what should be my inner workings of my mind and my spirit. They respond to. So I just think they don't realize that impulse that's coming to their head isn't them. And those same things that like teach me stuff that when I say it, it's like very profound to people. And the dreams I have, like those things tell me I'm the only one capable of the job of like saving the world. They tell me it has to be me. That nobody else is where I'm at. There's like something about me. I like fit the mold perfectly. And I've been trying, like, they've been telling me that since I was young. And I don't, they've given me thousands of opportunities I didn't take. Like in rooms with famous people. And I just didn't take them. Because I thought that I had to go back and do it on my own. And now it's been years and I'm still here. The only change is public opinion. Like more and more and more and more people are writing me off as a crazy schizophrenic. The only thing that's changed is that I've seen more of life. But I'm still sitting here building Legos. I'm just making songs. They've changed. They've lost touch with themselves in relation to me. Like maybe I was what they needed. Maybe they needed a connection to me in order to keep going. And when they severed that, which I forced, I purposefully severed a lot of relationships and strategically posted things in a way that I knew would get people to either. I knew if I posted this at this time, with the way the world is and the way the energies of the seasons are, if I expressed this certain type of energy with a lot of meticulous, thought out, calculated, careful certainty, certain that when I did it, they had to confront how much they really cared about Casey. Because it would be one of those moments where they had to go beyond themselves to understand. It was in there so perfectly, but just out there enough that their subconscious mind either had to be like, do I care about Casey enough to accept what he just said? Or am I going to get overtaken by the wave of chaotic entropy and negative social conditioning? So I did that strategically over 2 years. And the people that I suspected were going to leave left. So I would see them all floating in front of me. And I knew if I did this, that they would have to decide, they'd have to persevere and be like, I care. So they would have to come back to me. Which would mean they had to accept all the horrible things that they've done to me. Or continue on with the falseness and let go of me and completely get washed away. And I watch them all go. And then I check back in with them sometimes, and they're exactly where I thought they would be. The only ones that made any type of progress came back into my life just to do one last, see if they can hurt Casey emotionally and siphon out some emotional, spiritual wealth, and then use it. And then they made a song that sounds like me. All their best songs sound like the life that I'm living, describing the life that I'm living. And those songs I play that help me get through life. So it's like they don't realize that their system was based around me, and that their big song that they wanted to be this huge blow up or this offering to God, all it really was like a tool that I used to help me keep going. Just like when I talk about these floating motifs around me that keep me centered in authenticity. In case I falter too far from myself and I start to believe I am a schizophrenic crackhead. I have all these things that float around me to remind me, okay, I'm Casey Francis O'Brien, I'm a 33 life path with this ancient bloodline, and I've had all these experiences that have said all these things, and I have all these people's names, and the birds are circling me, and I remember I'm a spiritual being having a human experience, and then I can wake back up with focus and get back on the horse and keep going, take the reins again. So all these people that hurt me and betrayed me in the name of trying to become famous, trying to make their best song, their best songs are just something that came to them, that they made, that they put back out, and they don't realize that that's just something that I needed specifically to get me through to the next place. And for the most part, like, I sit here like this, but I see thousands of people. I've grown into so many different gardens, and I've gone to so many different places, and I have so many different relationships that when I just imagine myself checking in on them. Like, I zoom in, I can naturally remote view, and I just go into their life, and I can see their problems and what they want from life and what they're trying to do, the people that they're upset about, the prayers that they're sending to God when they're sitting there like on their knees in the living room and like looking up and like, please. I like zoom in for a second and I like float through the wall and I can just see that. And then usually it's just a choice where I'm like, allow that to happen. And then my 33 life path that evolves other souls just out of me with love and then helps. And I have that across the world, like at this point across America at least, but if the phones are actually taking in energy, maybe across the world. I don't know, but I know the phone is dark. There's I don't know if it's the darkness of the people that watch, but the phone is like this black, disgusting ball. And then when I get better at fighting back against it, the algorithm puts more negativity around. The haters get angrier and worse. Okay. I'm telling you, I've had probably either aliens or government agents confront me about what I tell you on the live streams. Worst case, it was an undercover cop that knew about me because of all the police precincts that know about me. But I've had so much other stuff. Like, imagine I'm standing here right now, and then it's like this, and then a stranger walks up with a shirt that says, I survived MK Ultra experimentation, and all I got was this stupid shirt. And imagine he walks up to me and stands right here, and he's just staring at me like this, and he points at his shirt like this, and then walks away, and I never see him again. Shit like that happens to me a lot. And they all have the same names. But I'm trying to shift my thinking into seeing the positive in it and see positive actions I can take with all this stuff that happens. Like, try to enjoy the experience of life rather than trying to pick it apart. Try to use that knowledge and use wisdom to make something happen. And I just make songs. I'm really proud of. But the world's constantly evolving, so the songs have to keep changing. I have to keep making new songs. Like, if I went back and finished all the songs I made, they would be perfect because they would be kind of embodiments of the time that we were in. But they wouldn't be boundary pushing and simulation breaking unless I did it right. So I try to do it right. And that's really hard. So it's dead quiet. And then I put my intention out, like I'm expecting, like, you're getting quiet, and then all of a sudden you'll hear a car start, or you hear a bird chirp over there. This whole thing is like, fuck. Keep it going. Don't let it be too obvious. The thing I bitch out on the most, I'm not afraid to go talk to a girl. I'm not afraid to go fight someone. I'm afraid of the accountability that it happens when I raise my awareness so high that I recognize that it's all a simulation, and then immediately expecting someone from my past to show up, and I have to like restructure the connection, the relationship. I'm afraid of that. Like when the guy attacked me and I had to get him with the hatchet, and then I broke free again. Back then, I could just see him floating around me, like I knew in a dream realm he was just waiting there, and he had a big smile on his face for me to wake up and realize that it was a simulation. Like I'm afraid of me activating a certain frequency in my head, a certain like thing, and then all of a sudden like you're all just gonna walk around the corner, and you're all gonna be there. That's what I'm afraid of. That's my biggest fear right now. I'm not afraid of a UFO. I'm afraid that all the characters in my story that I keep talking about are just gonna walk around this corner, and that will be the end. The big reveal that it was a prank the whole time. Because I get to that moment, but I don't have the people. I have like one person that shows up, or a stranger I've never seen before that tells me to go to a certain place. I don't have the whole thing. I'm just because I'm afraid that would ruin the story. But it seems like I'm becoming more of a robot more and more every day, and the world is being consumed by TikTok and is being destroyed, and the world is getting close to ending. So I don't know how long I have. I think if I was God, I would be semi-impressed. Because I know full well I could walk into a studio and charm the guy into letting me stay there and finish my album. I just don't put the effort into it. There's a bird right above me. So I'm gonna lay down and watch YouTube videos and eat my snacks. And like the video, go to my last YouTube video and just type a 1 in chat if you want me to keep in the comment section, if you want me to keep making content. Because I could do a war room where I put the thing out and say, these are all the agendas that we need to do. These are all the goals I have financially to put the stuff in to get all this stuff for 2025. This is all the things that I need. And then if you want, you can be a part of that and we can work together to make something even more epic happen. Because I'd have an army at my side. How easy it would be if I had 40 people to show up at Charlie Kirk's, one of his pop-ups, and then we all ride in on electric motorcycles, and we all have BB guns on our back or open carry stuff with our permits, and I have a Panther, and I'm in a full suit of armor, riding in on like a steed, and we're live streaming it, and I pull up and I wake him up to the universe, and I force him to say the things that he's too afraid to say. And I'm like, how long are you going to do it, Charlie? Just say it. It only takes one person to say it. You have a family to go to. I don't have a family. So I'll say it. But this is your call to action. Are you going to come with us or not? And then we go to the next place, and the next place, and the next place, and the next place. And then we just see how long it takes before an orbital VSAT laser comes in and we all burn alive. But either way, if I had that many people, we'd have Faraday cages, and we'd have live streams, and we'd have backups, and we'd have people across the world that have the vault of everything and can put together a video of exactly what happened and can flood the mainstream if it happens. Consistently to let everybody know over and over again what happened. And then maybe they'll just flood us with mud again. Like all these trees How long has New England been around? Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years. Yet the oldest tree in Vermont is like 250 years old. You think when there was a fraction of the population there is now, they cut down all the forest of Vermont? They completely cleared Vermont entirely? Or did aliens flood the entire thing of Tartaria with mud, appoint the Rothschilds to restart American society in the world, give us fake textbooks, and give us a fake narrative so that we wouldn't know that we're an experiment? And I have no problem doing that. It's just, I don't, like, what's the point of me doing it alone? And also, I don't have I have a lot of, it's harder for me to focus in the way that would allow me to operate the way that I used to. Like, I can do it sitting down like this, but there's so much more to life now with the relationships and energies that it would be a lot more difficult to do. But I think I could do it. But I might not be, like, it's just a challenge to do it to the best of my ability. But maybe if I'm buff and I have supplements and I have a place to rest, like the back of an RV or a boat, um, then it would be easier for me to get that done. It's just it's hard. But I'm trusting the universe. So we'll see what happens, man. If you enjoyed the content, like, comment, and subscribe. I just saw a bunch of merch designs pop into my head. It seemed like an ethereal spirit just offered me a suit of armor. A new, cooler suit of armor than I'm used to. Instead of black and red and gray, it was white, gray, and gold. And the whole design was different and more futuristic than the stuff that I come up with. So that's cool. I'll accept it. I accept that cool new suit of armor. That's cool. It's a cool feeling. It allows me to spread my wings easier. Oh, I know exactly what I'm going to do, the thumbnail. Alright. Wait till you see the thumbnail. Thanks for watching. Let me see some comments. Bruce Lee, those are UFOs. It also depends on how fast they're going. They say that they're satellites. I don't think that they're satellites. It's also the ones that are in a straight line and they're consistently moving. And then there are ones that dart around and they kind of go up and down. Those are UFOs. And the reason it's going up and down is because they're dodging your focus. When you're trying to stare at it, if you stare at it and it continues to move in a straight line like it's an inanimate object, there's still probably UFOs, but there's a chance that those are satellites. But then you see the ones that you stare at and they try to move away from your eyes, so you can't. But I have 1,000-mile stare with RH negative golden eyes, so they might be trying to avoid me, and for you it might be in a straight line. But I have UFOs that you'll look up at the stars and see all the constellations, and then you can see that there are things below, like just 100 feet below or above us, that are jumping based off of my perspective, so it can see exactly where I'm looking, and it quickly jumps between where the stars are, so that it doesn't see a straight line. It sees like boop, 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 going and masquerading as the star, so that it just looks like the light is kind of flickering, but really there's a UFO floating above there, Whereas if it was away from the star, you would be able to see the contrast very clearly. And I just had like a big pressure hit the side of my head into my ear. Yeah, my dad has that app. You remind me of one of my best friends of all time who sadly went down the meth path, and I haven't seen him in over 2 years. He had this wisdom to him, hard to explain. I don't see how, if he had this wisdom to him, he chose the meth path. I'm where I'm at because I was broken down psychologically from trauma, and I had to build myself back up, and I just had the right information at the right time, and I just paid attention long enough where I was broken down and had to build it back up with my surroundings. So he probably was just a very lonely individual that probably had a creative outlet and a creative passion. I've never done meth, so I don't know. From what I've seen from people that do meth, they say it's not that bad, but then they're just never the same. They never can embody this childlike this divine childhood, this spiritual enlightenment, this spiritual childhood after they do meth. They can never do it again unless there's so many things that are like, now they're like trapped in a house of knowledge. I guess it's knowledge, but like there's something about them that like keeps them trapped, so they, even if they get it, they can only do a certain set of things with it. So I don't know. And this is nowhere close to who I am. Usually I'll be sitting in my spirit and then recreating with like pure creative stuff. But the reason I don't have that is just the environment I'm in. Like these people did a lot to me. So the network that I'm in is really hostile and toxic and kind of taking always. So it's hard for me to kind of put my power back in because immediately someone shows up to take it. And then what can I do against police? Turn those lights back on, bitch. Yeah, I never had I don't have anyone that would let me stay at their place, or I might. But for the most part, people like this just want to avoid relationships because it's taxing. Because now you have to work in that whole thing. You have to work in the other people around you at the same time. And we've probably been outside long enough that it doesn't matter. But in the wintertime, it matters. So I'm gonna go, guys. Thanks for watching. Keep your head up, keep focused.